Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I am excited to start getting into the bonus tracks of the Raging Silence album. We've been through the proper album, and now we're digging into the extra gems that came along with the deluxe edition CD. Now, this song that we're talking about today is called Miracle Child, and according to the official Uriah Heep website, it does state that this was the B-side to the single for Hold Your Head Up, which was the Argent cover. And then it also says that the lead vocals are by Phil Lanzon. So don't know why that was in particular. There's nothing listed. I tried to do something that I don't normally do, and I went to dig into the booklet that came with this CD. And I went into the section talking about Miracle Child. It does not say anything, unfortunately, about Phil being the vocalist on the song. But what it does say is it's kind of interesting. It says, this was the B-side to the Hold Your Head Up single. There was also a 12-inch version of the single released that included a live version of Look at Yourself. This will be included on the expanded version of Live in Moscow. So for those of you that have it, check that out. Miracle Child is a well-recorded song that certainly worked better than a number of the tracks that actually made the original album, and it would be a good number to hear the band attempt live, extended of course. So very interesting notes, but again, it doesn't say anything about Phil singing it, so we'll have to see as we get into the track, which we're going to do right now. Here is Miracle Child by Uriah Heep. Intriguing opening. Definitely some very interesting work on the keyboards. I like the particular progression of it. You know, the notes were going to places that I didn't expect, certainly out of the standard, which I like. I like when things are a little bit different than what you expect, as you guys probably know, those of you who have been listening to the show for a while. But in any case, yeah, it's a really cool opening, and I'm very curious to see where the song goes. Very good sound. Everything it seems to be in place. Bass is very simple. Drums are very simple in the opening. They don't need to be grandiose because it's really just supporting the keyboard at this point. Here's another riff that really is good because it lays a foundation. It gives you a sense of the feel, but it doesn't actually commit to anything. So you could go literally anywhere from here and make it work. It's not a riff that has a certain progression to it that, you ended on this note, so you have to start on a different note or you have to do this or that. I mean, this is really like you could start throwing in little licks in between. You could do variations on it, but really right here, all you're doing is just kind of really setting a pace and a general tone. I like that because it leaves a lot of mystery as to what comes next, but it also just lays the ground for a lot of possibility. Well, here's what I can say. From what we've heard of the way that Bernie sounds on this album so far, I am inclined to agree with the official Uriah Heep website and say, I don't think that's him singing. Whether that is Phil Lanzon or not, I can't say for sure because I don't know what he sounds like singing lead, but I could say it's probably him because who else would it be? I know it's not Mick. I don't think it's Lee. I don't know what Trevor Boulder sounds like as a vocalist in lead. But I'm just going to go with what it says on the site. What I just find weird about it, and I guess the only reason to me that there's any kind of question at all, is that the actual CD booklet didn't mention that. It seems like they're pretty thorough on these. So unless it's listed somewhere else, I'm going to say that that's just weird and probably a simple oversight. But in any case, the voice sounds good. It works with the song. I'm not sure exactly what effect that is on that, if that's a doubler or what we're hearing, but it definitely fits in with the album for sure. There is a little bit more separation in this mix, not by much, but a little bit. I do hear a rhythm guitar in my right ear, and then I'm hearing another sort of accent track over in my left ear on guitar, which is pretty nice. There's some really cool fill-ins all over from Phil, and it's really a pretty giant sounding song, I have to say. Bass is very playful on this one, which is good. It's kind of getting back to more of what we expect from the band. And drums sound nice and solid, not doing anything too crazy, kind of fitting in right now. Who knows where it's going to go from here, but so far, very solid. You know, I'm just looking at the waveform of this song, and it is not quite brick wall limited, but limited very tight. And it still sounds good despite that. You know, I typically have, a dislike for that kind of mixing, but I have to say that if everything is panned properly, you can do that kind of mixing and have it come out very well. And I think they've done a really good job on that here. Well, I have to say we're getting close to halfway through the song, and there has not been a lot of breathing room since the intro. It just seems like one part goes into another part, goes into another part, which is a bit uncommon for Heep. Usually there's at least, 4 or 8 bars in there somewhere that kind of give a little instrumental interlude, give the vocalist a chance to breathe a little bit. And here it's just part into part into part. It's got a good drive, this song. One thing I've always complimented Heep on is their ability to do these wonderful transitions from one part into another. And they're not really doing transitions in this song. It's kind of a little bit uncharacteristic of them. I mean, it's certainly something they've done before, especially around this era of the band. But there's really no lead in, no nothing. It just transitions from one thing into another without there being any transitional material. Again, there's like not a couple of bars that smooth things out going from one part into another. Yet at the same time, it doesn't feel like any kind of transition. You just go with the next part that's coming, and it feels natural. It's really interesting because this song doesn't actually need those additional bars in there for the transitions. I have to say, I love the bass guitar sound on this song. It's cutting through. It's really rich. It's heavy, but it doesn't sound distorted or anything. It's very clean sound. And he's just jamming away on those eighth notes. Very precise, very good. So reaching just about the 3-minute mark out of a 4-minute and 11-second song is the first time we had a section without vocals since the beginning. That's quite a stretch. And for Phil not being a singer primarily, I think he sounds pretty good. Now, of course, in the studio, you can get away with an awful lot. You could take 6 weeks and do this song and have it sound like you went in there and did it in a day. But his voice is really strong. He's got a lot of power to it. It sounds really good with the song. The backups are great. It's really a nice, welcoming surprise because I wouldn't have known how he sounded otherwise. But I kind of feel like Mick was just waiting for this solo. Like he's like, all right, I played along long enough. I got to get this solo out. And he just came out on fire. Absolutely love it. There's a little bit that gets buried here and there, but for the most part, what he's playing really cuts through and it sounds fantastic. High energy really enhances the song. And I have yet to hear a solo from Mick I haven't really liked. And maybe there's some that you guys feel differently about, but I can honestly say, all bias aside, I really like his creativity and his performances on his solos. I think he really shines a lot more than he gets credit for. Oh, that was a nice little guitar lick there, just coming in out of the blue, a little bit louder, a little bit heavier than the rest so that it was noticeable, but not so much that it took you out of the song. I mean, it was blended very nicely, but just slightly different sound so that it was very identifiable. That was a nice little surprise. I like that. Okay, I think somebody's finger was a little fast on that fader there. That just went out quick. Just when it was getting interesting again, you know, we're past the repetition. We've got a change. We've got Mick just ready to play, and then it's gone. And that is, you know, not just Uriah Heep, but so many bands have done things like that. And I think it's great that we live in the age of remastered and extended edition copies. I was looking at a picture of the new Black Sabbath Born Again reissue that's about to come out. I'm not sure what the date is yet, but I was looking at it going, yeah, okay, there's a lot of stuff here. And I'm hoping that there are continuations to some of those songs where things are really starting to get interesting. Like the song Born Again has, you know, kind of like this. There's solos as it fades out. I want to know where it went. You know, we've heard the repetitions. We've heard the chorus enough times. We've heard the verses. Now it's changing and new things are happening. And I've always felt in a way, even with my own music, I guess, but I've always felt like as a listener, I'm being cheated out of the party when that happens. And it's perfectly natural. I mean, it's a very common thing in music to fade out on solos. It's been done for decades. But for me, I'm like, but I want to know what happened. But I'm also the kind of person that if I go see a horror movie and you know, whoever the girl is that survives the killer, all her friends have been chopped up. Like, I want to know what happens to her tomorrow. How does she just go back to school or go to work or do whatever it is that she's going to do? how do you, like, what happens after? That's always the thing for me, is the story doesn't end for me when it ends. I want to know what goes on beyond. So when they're telling a story and they're having a party and it's fun, you want to know where the party is going. Like, what was it that finally stopped the party? That's a hard thing for me. I know that it's very common, so people are probably used to it and really don't think about it much. And I'm one of those people that tends to look at certain things a little bit differently. So that's just the ramblings of an old man doing a podcast. But honestly, it was a good song. Had a really good drive to it. It was a little bit repetitive. There weren't as many rests as I thought there might be. And when I say rests, I just mean, parts that connect parts instead of just going from one part to another, which is, something that we're used to with Heep. Even, like I said, if it's, 2 bars, 4 bars, whatever, just some kind of connective tissue. And here it's like the bones actually attached to each other. And it's interesting. It's a different writing style, really. And to hear Phil on vocals was nice. I think he's got a really good voice. And, as I'm looking at the pictures on the back of the cover to Raging Silence here in the booklet, on the back of the booklet, it's a little bit larger than it is actually on the back cover of the CD, because it's just a very small picture of the back. They repeat the picture on the front for some reason. Kind of weird. But I'm looking at them like, God, these guys are just kids. It's really amazing to see how young they are at this point. And they've been, most of these guys have been playing together for a while, and they've been in the business for a while, but they just look so young and fresh and ready to take on the world. And I love that. I think that's a great photo that they got for the album insert or the back cover. But seriously, it's a good song. It's got a lot of great energy to it. The bass really grooves on it. Drums are really solid. Nothing too crazy on the drums here, like no really crazy fills or anything like that. Just solid, very good foundation for what this song is. And yeah, I agree. I think I'd like to see this live. I don't know if that'll ever be done, but I think it would be a good song for them to cover live. It's got good energy to it. I think the crowd could get into it. Might take them a minute just because they don't know the song, or, because it wasn't released on the album, the proper album. But either way, I think they would get into it fairly quickly because it's just got a great sound to it. So another thumbs up for a Uriah Heep song from this guy, your rambling old man podcaster guy. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We will see you next week with another set of shows. We're doing 4 every week. And I'm glad I've been able to keep up that pace. I haven't found anything that's thrown me off of that just yet. So hopefully I'll be able to continue on that. We got a long ways to go yet. We're 2/3 through the catalog, but there's still a lot to cover. And they're in the studio right now making another album. And that's going to be another season. Plus, there's all the bonus tracks that I found that don't belong to specific albums, or I couldn't identify them with specific albums. All kinds of stuff coming at you guys. We have a ways to go. Thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend, folks. Do something for yourself. Do something for someone else. It's so simple to bring a smile to somebody else, and it can mean the world to them. Take care, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!